You can fool people when in actual fact you're going through depression. And I want to be a pastor who puts this thing at the forefront and address it. Because we have to address these things. We have to pray for one another. And let's find solutions to this rather than standing on a lofty position and be self-righteous and religious and preach about going to heaven. Whilst between here and heaven, you are suffering from depression.
Come on, everybody, get on your feet today. How many of you serve a big God? How many of you serve a big God? Can I hear you shout in this place?
Welcome to Life International, where the nations gather and where life is experienced through the power of Jesus Christ. I have a very powerful message which I want you to listen to carefully. It is conquering depression. In the first message, I dealt with it, but in this second half, I'm going deeper into the effects of depression, how to detect the signs. But I want you to listen carefully because it's going to be a tremendous blessing to you. Let's get into it and get moving. Let's just generally talk about what to do should you ever face a challenge with that. Now, in the early days, when people suffer from depression, they keep it quiet. I mean, it's a stigma to many people. But it's not something that any of us, again, should feel ashamed to talk about it because people suffer from it. And most of it comes in different forms. So let me just say to you what it is. Then I'll break it down and give you some points here again. Presidents suffer from it. Kings and queens suffer from it. Preachers suffer from it. Fathers and mothers suffer from it. Blacks and whites suffer from it. It makes no difference. You can be straight, you can be gay, you can be in between. It makes no difference. This is something that is very serious that needs to be looked upon and looked at. When we talk about depression, again, don't think a person or anyone who may suffer from it is less human or less important. Understand, people suffer from it and others deal with it in different ways and different forms. But let's address this seriously and talk about these things in the church. The fact that somebody is always smiling does not mean the person may not suffer from depression. The fact that someone is successful by achievement doesn't mean they may not suffer from depression. Anybody can suffer from it. Should you know anyone who's suffering from it? Should you be a one who suffers from it? Don't be ashamed and embarrassed. Get the help that you need. And if someone you know is suffering from it, please don't look down upon that person and don't put yourself above and feel that you are super and they are less. It is very important for us to look at this. Let me give you some symptoms of it. Definition and symptoms of depression. Whenever you feel a persistent sadness or isolation, it could be a mild form of depression. A persistent feeling of sadness and isolation. At times you feel like, you know what, you are isolated or you don't want to see anybody. You don't want to be around people. You just want to keep away from everybody. It could be depression in itself. A persistent feeling of sadness. You have this sadness that you can't explain. You woke up one morning and all of a sudden you get sad. Or during the course of the day, something just comes upon you, you feel sad and you can't explain why you're sad. You are not hungry. You are full. There's no death in the family. But you just can't explain. You can't put your finger on it. But there's like, you feel like numb inside. Something tells you that something is wrong. I don't feel okay. Days you may feel like you don't want to get out of bed. I want to bury myself. You lose appetite. You don't feel like eating. You don't feel like drinking. You don't feel like answering the phone. You don't feel like seeing anyone's face. This is a symptom of depression. Another definition or symptom of depression is the feeling of hopelessness and also dejection. You feel so hopeless. No matter what you do, you feel like it's not going to amount to anything. You feel so dejected that nobody wants you, nobody likes you. You don't meet the standard of acceptance. It gets on you so strong. Or you may have a loved one, a family member who goes through this from time to time. I want you to be very cautious and very sensitive to deal with people who have such kind of feelings. They may be experiencing depression. Some people experience it so full, strong, some very mild, and some in between. It manifests in different places. Whenever you have a sense of hopelessness, where you don't feel like even laughing, and all you do or you feel like doing is cry and cry and cry and cry and cry. You don't know why you're crying. And many times you express yourself this way to others. Am I crazy? Am I losing my mind? No, you're not crazy. You're not losing your mind, but you are going through something that ought to be looked at and helped, and that is depression. In fact, if you have someone like that, if you know someone like that, it could be your husband, it could be your wife, it could be your brother, it could be your sister, it could be your pastor, it could be your president, it could be your governor, it could be your mayor, it could be your teacher, it could be your best friend. Anyone can suffer from this. Depression. Another symptom is inactivity as a result of difficulty in thinking and concentration. Inactivity as a result of difficulty in thinking or concentration. You cannot concentrate. You have difficulties in thinking. It's difficult for you to think straight. You can't concentrate. And it can affect anyone at any stage in any life. By the way, depression knows no age. Depression knows no age. A child can suffer from depression. A boy can suffer from it. A girl can suffer from it. A youth can suffer from it. Millennial can suffer from it. Young adult can suffer from it. There are people who have everything together. And they may suffer from depression and even don't know it. There are those, and which I come to it deeper, as I go deep into it. There are those who lose concentration. They can't think straight. They have difficulties. They don't have any energy to do anything. They don't feel like doing anything. They don't want to do anything. They feel so pulled away, and they stay in a little cocoon. And in the place where they stay, they feel safe to themselves and safe from the world. It is depression. Another definition of depression is when you lose the interest in life. When you lose the interest in life, like, you know what? You ask questions like, what is life all about? I don't feel like living. I lose interest in life. When you lose interest in life, you can start conversations or you can be involved in any meaningful conversation and it will end up in, well, I don't know, I don't feel like living. I don't feel like living. Life doesn't worth living anyway. You know, I don't feel like living. Dying is something you like talking about most of the conversation. There are those who know about their end, have an idea of how their end is going to be. And they can make statements like, you know what, I may not be here too long. It's not depression. But a person who's going through depression is one who says, I don't feel like living. I don't want to live anymore. I've lost the interest of living. I've lost the joy of living. I do not want to live. I don't feel like living. It is a sign of depression. Another part which happens, and it can happen in different stages of your life. It can begin when you're going through crises. It can begin when you've gone through even women, it happens to women. When they give birth, they can go through depression. Some when they have surgery, they can go through depression. Some when they lose their job, they can go through depression. Some when they lose their loved one, they can go through depression. You see, it comes in different forms and different shapes. And another symptom of depression is when you feel like ending your own life. That means suicide. You have suicidal thoughts. When you're having thoughts, I don't want to live anymore. I'm tired of this pain. I'm tired of feeling this way. If I die, nobody will miss me anyway. If I die, nobody will care anyway. And thoughts comes to your mind when you're driving, run into another car, skip off the road, jump from a house, jump into this. All kinds of thoughts comes to you. Man, I can end it all in 1 minute. I could end it all in 2 minutes. I could end it all in this. And the thoughts get stronger and stronger and stronger. It is depression. Whenever you hear that somebody commits suicide, always remember that they are pushed to that edge by depression, and people may not know it. You may think, oh, I saw him, he's very happy. I know her, she's very happy. In fact, they come from a great home. The family is doing well. The children are doing okay. They just built a new home. They just bought a new car. Their son just graduated from college. Their daughter just got married. Their distant mama just won the lottery. And everything is going fine. As far as I was concerned, there is nothing to actually bring about this. Depression manifests in different forms. The good news is you can conquer it. That's the good news. The good news is you can overcome it. But the most important news is, first, if you are going through any of this, don't push it away and pretend it's not there. Listen to me. I may be God's agent for you today to let you face a reality that you always try to push away. It doesn't take anything away from you if you are suffering from depression or depression is trying to come upon your life. It is better to identify it. If you can identify it in the beginning or know that these symptoms that I'm mentioning happens in your life, at least you have the problem 51% solved. Do you know what it is actually? What the symptoms I've mentioned? If you have to put it in a clinical form or put it in a human form, in the best form, depression is a disorder. Simply put, depression is a disorder that affects the human mood. Put it down or write it down. Depression is a disorder that affects the human mood. Let me be honest with you. There are doctors who suffer from it. There are psychologists who suffer from it. There are therapists who are giving you therapy and they suffer from it themselves. Depression is a disorder that affects the human mood. Let me say it again. Depression is a disorder that affects the human mood. With all said, let me make this point. Even though from time to time, you and I will feel disturbed. It's normal. From time to time, you and I will feel upset. It is all normal. Being upset is normal. Say, being upset is normal. Being upset is normal. Being disturbed is normal. Being disturbed is normal. Being angry is also normal. Being angry is also normal. Speak up. Being angry is also normal. Being angry is also normal. And being unresponsive is normal. Being unresponsive is normal. When you find yourself, for no other reason or no explanation, you just get angry with people and feel like destroying or hurting people, you've got a problem. You can be angry. You can be upset. You can be disturbed. You can be unresponsive. And all that I mentioned, it's normal. But depression is more serious than that. But whenever thoughts come into your mind to hurt, destroy, break, literally cause harm, that is more what? Serious. Listen to me very carefully. You see, the mind that you have processes everything, and every human mind is a door. It's a gateway. It's an entrance. It's a passage. And also, it is a big open space, the human mind. Anything that you pick up, if you bring it in and you deposit it there without taking it to where it needs to be, it will keep staying in your mind and you always keep on processing it. Thoughts, as you and I know it, cannot be stopped because the human mind is created or made by God to be able to expand its borders and receive information and process them. At the same time, this mind is a gate, it's a door. There are certain thoughts, there are certain processes that you can refuse coming into your mind. In fact, I've always said, listen, you cannot stop people from knocking on your door, but you can surely stop people from entering into your house. Yeah. Your mind is the door. Any thoughts that knocks on the door, it's welcome because the door is exposed to the outside world. But whatever happens inside is your choice. You can control the things that you allow inside you. You can control what kind of things you process in your mind. And the Bible makes it clear that as a man thinks, as you think, as you process, you are what you think. If you ask a nutritionist, he'll tell you, you are what you eat. If you ask a preacher, he will tell you, you are what you hear. And if you're an athlete, you are what game or what sports you participate in. So when we talk about depression and we talk about all these feelings and all these things that go along with it, it is good for us to know that, bottom line, depression is a disorder that affects the human mood. And if you've had any of these symptoms that I've just mentioned, and these things I've mentioned, if you've had it and it persists for 14 or 18 days at a time, it is considered clinical depression. Straight. There are hundreds of millions of people around the world who suffer with depression. And there are also countless millions of people who even don't know what they have. I shared with you that in America alone, more than 44 million adults suffer from depression. In America alone. In America alone. More. And when I mean more, it means it could be 44 million or 100 million. It's more. And this depression that I'm talking about, 1 in every 5 suffer from this kind of condition. 1 in 5 suffer from it. And this kind of depressions, or this kind of things that I'm talking about, they manifest in different forms. And they have different names. Some are called major disorder. There are those who suffer from major disorder. There are those who suffer from what we call bipolar disorder. And most of us are familiar with bipolar disorder. Bipolar disorder is a symptom that people have. 1 minute they're excited and another minute they're angry. Bipolar. 1 minute they are happy, 1 minute they are sad. And if you go through that, and there are people like that, and most of these areas is chemically imbalanced. And some of these things can be regulated by chemicals. But if you take too much chemicals, you can be hooked to it too. And if you stop taking it, or you take it in love, or you begin to see these things, you begin to see things that does not what exists. You begin to hallucinate. Many times you think they are coming after you, when in actual fact, nobody is coming after you. You will see horses chasing you or cows chasing you, when in actual fact, you are just standing in the same spot that you are. I mean, your mind begins to tell you stories. Your mind takes you on trips. Your emotions, your mood swing is affected by what happens around you. In fact, most of us have heard that there are those who suffer from symptoms, and in actual fact, they can't be around people. Because when they are around people, they suffer from what? The enclosure. They feel like, they're claustrophobic. They feel like, hey, when you're in a small space, it's like their heart begins to beat so fast. It's like they feel like, I'm going to die, I'm going to faint. They cannot be in an enclosed place. When in the plane, they feel like they cannot be around too many people. They need space to breathe because they feel like someone is going to suffocate them or something is going to snap the life out of them. 1 in 5 people suffer from it. Those who have major disorder, those who suffer from bipolar disorder, and those who suffer from postpartum disorder. Have a baby, happy baby, you look at the baby, you're excited, male or female, boy or girl, and right after the baby is placed and you watch the baby, you get so affected. It looks like your chemical imbalance reached a certain level. You cry for no reason. You cry for no reason. Whenever you find a little child, listen to me very carefully. I want everyone to listen to me. You find a child or an adult who eats and throws up. Who eats and throws up. Anything they eat, they have to throw up. Or you find a person, they become so obsessed with dirt that they have to wash their hands 20, 30, 40 times. They have a problem. As we talk about the various disorders, as I've mentioned, I tell you that one aspect of it that can be very serious and it can affect many people that often most of us don't even know is this. Oh, you got married, everything is fine, dandy. You are doing okay, you got a job, everything is going well. You are so happy that day you got a job and you started singing. You are singing to yourself, dancing in the room, tilting and getting excited and dancing. Everything is fine and fine and fine. And you know that, listen, you have applied for the position to officially apply for a position that is a little higher and that pays well. And no one on the company has applied for it but you. And you know that this job or this position, you got it. Then all of a sudden you realize that you don't have that job. All of a sudden your excitement dissipates. All of a sudden you begin to withdraw. All of a sudden you started accusing yourself. You hold yourself in contempt. And you begin to doubt your own credibility. You begin to doubt your own efficiency. You begin to doubt your own ability. And you begin to call yourself nothing. And all of a sudden, your spirit of excitement goes so down. You become so depressed. You get so depressed, you can't take care of your health anymore. You get so depressed, you can't take care of your body anymore. You get so depressed, you don't worry about your diet anymore. You get so depressed, you don't care how you look anymore. And people say, are you okay? You say, yes, I'm okay. But something is wrong. You are stricken or affected by depression, and you even don't know it. It happens to everybody. And today I'm going to show you a video that will tell you and help you. Listen very carefully. This is an important message for you, even though it's Bible studies. But I really want to come home so you think and process things. Listen, pastors suffer from it. Pastors suffer from it. You have to fight to stay alive. That is why I said we can all conquer it. You can be depressed when you lose a job. And you can be depressed commonly when you have serious financial problems. either in your marriage or in your personal life. If you don't take care of it, depression will take over your life. Do you know how many people have taken over? Depression has taken over their lives because of finances, because they can't pay their bills. Do you know that people get depressed? I've heard stories, and I've known managers, I've known owners, I've known fathers who literally leave notes of suicide for their family members because their financial difficulties are taking over. And depression tells them that you are no good for this world. You're no good for your family. The only reason you are around is just to make your family miserable. Why don't you excuse yourself from this earth so that they will go on with their lives? And all of a sudden, the thought of suicide comes in. Oh, when this thought comes to your mind, if it's come to your mind once or twice, between 14 to 18 times a year, you are suffering from depression. I promise you that. Oh, no, I'm a happy man. But you know, these days, I just don't feel like talking to nobody. Honey, I can't talk to you anymore. Why? Because you know what? Since we've been married, you've been bringing in little, I've been bringing little, but since we can't make the ends meet, I am so depressed that I cannot actually even engage in a loving relationship with you, honey. I cannot be a wife to you. I cannot be a husband to you. I'm so depressed. Do you know how many people leave homes? How many people destroy everything around them because of finances? And finances as a way of bringing depression into your life. I am depressed. Why? Because you know what? I don't have this. I don't have that. I am depressed. Why? Because I've never had this and I've never had that. I'm so depressed. Watch it and work it. Work it out. Because if not, it will affect you. Whilst I'm talking about all these things, may I once again make this point. Depression has no respect for ethnicity. It doesn't care. It doesn't matter what ethnicity, what kind of ethnic background you're from. In fact, depression doesn't care what nationality. Depression doesn't care what race. Depression doesn't care what gender. And it doesn't really give a hoot about your economic status. Do you know how many famous actors recently are leaving the world? They make you laugh, but they themselves cannot laugh, maintain a laugh. So the question is, so this man that I know who make me laugh all the time, this comedian, this reporter, this actor, this person that I thought is so famous and powerful, how come that this person is suffering from this disease and no one talked about it? Because you see, you can fool people when in actual fact you're going through depression. And I want to be a pastor who puts this thing at the forefront and address it. Because we have to address these things. We have to pray for one another. And let's find solutions to this rather than standing on a lofty position and be self-righteous and religious and preach about going to heaven. Whilst between here and heaven, you are suffering from depression and you're not getting any help. I want to be a pastor that takes these things very seriously. I want to be a pastor that would take our members seriously, that when somebody is suffering from depression, that person will not be ostracized or put to the side or looked down upon and look at them as problem, but rather opportunity to provide God's solution to one another. You can be depressed that way. Another one could be excessive stress. Excessive stress can bring about depression. Another form it can come in is through traumatic events in one's life. If you've gone through trauma, there are traumatic events in our lives, and some of it could be family matters, bad relationships. Bad relationships can bring on depression. Abuse can also bring on depression. Another thing also that I want us to look at is the death of a loved one. When a loved one dies and you don't take time, you could get into depression. Another thing that brings depression is loneliness. Loneliness. Another one I want to mention is worthlessness. Anxiety. I'll go through this quickly. Anxiety. Fear. Hopelessness. hopelessness, emptiness. Emptiness will bring in depression. And another thing that brings depression is failure and shame. If you constantly live a life of failure and shame, you are just being attacked by depression. Thank you very much for watching. And on behalf of Life International, we wish you God's very best. It is our hope, our prayer, and desire to inspire you regularly and make sure that you succeed in every area of your life. We would like to give you an opportunity to contribute to Life International so that our broadcast can reach many more around the world. Continue watching, share us, and mention us to all of your friends. Thank you so much, and God bless you.